Hi, and welcome to this week's video. So this week I decided to film a reading vlog over the course of the whole week, and I thought it'd be fun if we did a themed one. So I only read summer romances for the whole week. When I originally thought of this video and started the video, I thought of maybe doing a 24-hour readathon, which is how I introduced the video originally. But then I read throughout the whole first day and ended up with a really bad headache. So I decided to not put myself through that over the remaining 14 hours and called it quits for the day. And instead, I decided to turn it into reading summer romance books for a week instead of reading summer romances for 24 hours. Hi guys, good morning. It is currently, what time is it? It is currently 9:30. I just woke up. It's Saturday, so it was so nice to sleep in. I had the intention of starting this video a little bit earlier on in the day, but it was just one of those days where I didn't set an alarm and just kind of slept, so that was really nice. Anyways, today I wanted to do a 24-hour reading challenge. I've done one of these once before. I didn't film it or anything, but it was successful, so I'm hoping that today will be just as successful. I was thinking that we could do a theme for this one, and that would just be doing summer romances the whole time. We'll see if we stick to it. I'm definitely not going to hold myself to too many rules. Like, if I just read for 24 hours straight, that would be great. That's all that I'm holding myself to. So I brought over my TBR card, and on the shelf I have all of my romances. So I thought that we could pick the first one out together, and then I'm just gonna do one at a time. I'm not gonna make like a smaller TBR version for the video. I do have some books in mind, but if I don't get to those, I don't get to those. I definitely want to stick to like more summery romance books or more summery books in general, even if they're not romance, just because we are in the middle of summer, and what better time to read these. So I'm thinking for the first book, Happy Place is really calling me more than any other book. I mean, the cover is just so summer, and obviously I keep hearing a lot of things about this book. As far as I know, this was the first Emily Henry release where she released it as a hardcover only and not a paperback, and so I have all of her other books in paperback, and I'm one of those people that if it's in paperback, the whole set is in paperback, and if it's in hardcover, the whole set is in hardcover. So I waited for a year before I could buy this in paperback, and I just got it recently, so I really do want to read this. I wish that there was a way to buy the paperback version of Funny Story. It sounds really good. I think I might do it on like my Kindle or something, and then when it comes out in paperback, if I liked it, buy the physical copy. But anyways, that's not important. And so let's start our 24-hour
waiting around for you to call back, pacing around my room and my dad. Crazy.
So I've been reading for a couple of hours. I now have 19 hours and 35 minutes left on the timer. So I've been reading for like 4.5 hours. I'm on page 178, which means I'm like almost halfway through. It's been really good so far. I don't think I talked about what this book was actually about, but it's a second chance romance with past and present timeline. But essentially, Harriet and Wynne have to go on a vacation with their friends, as they do like every year, and they were engaged and they broke off their engagement, but they haven't yet told their friends. So they're kind of, I guess, fake dating in front of their friends, keeping up the ruse during this vacation as to like not ruin it for everybody, which creates kind of an interesting dynamic between the two. I'm usually not a fan of the past and present timeline, but I find it really good in this book. Like in either timeline I'm in, I'm like, I don't want it to change because I'm enjoying it so much. And then we go to the other timeline, I'm like, wait, no, this is actually really good too. So Finn came to say hi. Anyways, so that's all I have for now. I thought I would update as I'm like halfway through. I find it's really good. I'm curious to see how it all ends, because where Harriet and Wynne are now in the present day is still where they are when we started the book, if that makes sense, in terms of their relationship. So I'm excited to see in the second half of the book how they figure everything out. But in the meantime, it's just a really interesting. So I'm gonna keep reading for, well, I'm just gonna keep reading for the next 19 hours and 34 minutes. So.
I want you to know what you have against me. The city is not the place for us to be. 'Cause I'm trying to figure out why you hate me. Was it something I did? Yeah, I don't need to offend. I'm just waiting, because of all of the lies. Yeah, you don't need to disguise your face. I just want you to know that I am rooting for you. It's okay, it's okay.
I just finished Happy Place by Emily Henry. It is, oh my gosh, it is 6:43 in the evening and I still have almost 15 hours left on the timer. To be honest, I definitely wanted this to be a 24-hour readathon when I started, but I've had a really big headache all day, so I definitely read this a lot slower than I normally would. This took me like 9 hours to read. 385 pages, so that's definitely, yeah, it was definitely a lot slower. I was annotating a little bit, but not really that much. So I'm thinking that I'm just gonna pivot and read as much as I can for the week. So it's just, instead of doing, you know, reading summer books for 24 hours, I'm gonna do reading summer books for a week. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause the time here. I think that'll be that for the 24 hours. I think that'll be that for today. In terms of the book Happy Place itself, I thought it was really good. I loved everything about it. I loved the past and present timeline. I loved how it ended. At no point in the book did I feel like anything was dragging on. Being able to switch between the two timelines definitely helped with the pacing. I thought it was really good, and I really love the characters. I love the side characters. I love that we got the side characters and how in depth we went into the side characters. It definitely, I forgot when people talk about this book how much they talked about the friendships in this book, and reading it, yeah, just I got reminded, and it really is such a nice story about friendship as well. Friendship through the years takes place over like 10 years between, you know, the past and the present, depending on which past we were in, but when we're starting the past timeline, it's like 10 years ago. I agree, like in my bookstore, Emily Henry books are actually classified as literary fictions, and they're not found in the romance section, and I would agree with that. So I think definitely if you're thinking about picking up this book, keep that in mind. It's a lot more of a woman's fiction and with like a strong romance plot, but a lot of it is personal growth and personal development within each of the characters, which I really liked. So I'm still thinking on a rating for this. Right now I'm thinking at like 4.5. It was really good, yeah, 4.5 or like 4.75. It was like almost a 5 stars, but not quite. I feel like I didn't connect enough for it to be a 5 stars personally, but I could definitely see how this is a 5 stars for other people. And as soon as I finished it, or even as I was reading the book, I was like, I can't wait to go in and reread it. Even if I was like annotating and everything, it's not like, oh, I want to come back and like read this book so I can annotate it. Like I was annotating it. I genuinely just want to reread it for the sake of rereading it and having this experience again. It was that good of a book. But I do think that like for a 5 stars, you just like, it needs to hit. And I mean, depending if I like continue to think about this book throughout the rest of the week, it could become a 5 stars. And I think I will come back and do a bit of a wrap up on all the books at the end of the week. I'll leave that at that right now. But yeah, so that is Happy Place, read all in one sitting, which also, as a side note, I loved reading this in one sitting. I thought it was such a good book to read in one sitting, again because the pacing was so quick. So definitely would recommend doing that as well. Okay, I do think that we can still pick out our next book together. So okay, one option is Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is a romance book between two camp counselors, and it is also the next in a series of the Maple Hills, is that what it's called? Yeah, Maple Hills series, so that would be nice. Also to continue on a series. let's see. I'm also debating It Happened One Summer because, again, it is a summer romance book, but I've also started it and I'm already 60 pages in. I'm also thinking of like The Layover. I've heard people really like this. I'm also thinking of Float. I heard this was really good. Pretty. I think I'm gonna do Wildfire by Hannah Grace, actually. We are currently Saturday, July 13th. So I am gonna continue this video over the next week and just kind of see how many books that I can get through. I'm not gonna try to put like an expectation on like number of books in total, just try to do my best, but I'm definitely gonna try to read a lot more today and tomorrow, just take advantage of the weekend. So yeah, I guess I will just update you guys as it goes. Hi guys, it's the next day. We're Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. I read a little bit of Wildfire, which I started yesterday night, and I'm now at page 110. For a little reading update, it's really good so far. For those who don't know, the premise of this book is, so it's a college romance, and every novel in the series is going to be about a character in, I think, the friend group that we met in the first book. Anyway, so they're all ice hockey players, and this one is from Russ, which we met in the first book, and so I think he's a little younger than the other hockey players, which he's friends with, and they all live together now. I believe he's a little younger, but he's just like a bit more timid, a bit more shy. So it's the end of the school year, and him and his friends all throw like a big party, like end of the school year farewell to some of the players that are leaving and so on, and he meets Aurora, which is the other main character, and they hook up for the night, and then they both leave to be counselors at a summer camp the next morning, but neither of them know that the other person's going to be there. They didn't meet before that night. Anyway, so 110 pages in, we're at the camp. It's really good. The vibes are so good, so summery, and the romance, I don't know, I love how Hannah Grace writes her romances. I don't know, I'm just like giggling, kicking my feet, like it's one of those, which is so fun. Okay, I also just got back from the bookstore and I thought I would do a little bit of a haul. I didn't get too many books, but so the reason I went into the bookstore was to get this book, The Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, and this is the second book in the Red Rising series, and my boyfriend and I are currently reading Red Rising. We're almost done the book. We've been reading it together, which has been really fun. So I read it on my Kindle and he reads the physical copies. So that was the first book that I went in for. The next book that I bought is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is the second book in the Crowns of Nyaxia duology. I have the first one as a hardcover, so I want to get the second as a hardcover. And these are so nice because when you remove the dust jacket, there's actually something to see. Like there's actually a nice design underneath. I don't know why it annoys me so much when you get like a nice hardcover and as soon as you remove the dust jacket, it's just like black with like the title. That is so boring. Anyways, so I love that they did that. I appreciate that a lot. The last book that I bought is relevant to today's video, which is why I'm including this haul, and it is Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. I was thinking of reading this one this summer. I've heard really great things about it just in the book community, so I wanted to read it, and if I'm reading summer romances or summer books for a week, I thought what better book to include than Summer Romance. Anyways, I'm really excited to read this one, and I might read it actually after my current read, Wildfire, but we'll see. So yeah, that's the update I have for now, and I will check in with you guys when I have another update. This morning, I finished Wildfire by Hannah Grace. In terms of my thoughts for the book, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed Icebreaker when I read it, but I also forgot how much spice there was in that book, and I would say there's just as much in here, if not a little bit more. I thought the first half was really good. There was like a little bit of spice at the beginning because of just how they meet, and then after that there was no spice. It was more just like them getting to know each other and like more tension, and then in the second half it definitely increased with spice. I thought for me personally it was a little bit too much towards the end. After having so many scenes with spice, I kind of started skimming them, and it's almost 400 pages, so I feel like you could have definitely reduced on the spice. You could have definitely just had like less spice in the book and had like fewer pages. I thought it would have been a bit of a better book, but I guess that's just my personal taste. If you don't mind spice, or if you really like spice in your romance novels, I feel like then you'd really enjoy Wildfire. I thought that the characters were really good. I know that some people were complaining about the fact that in Icebreaker we just met like the characters and all of their friends and the found family in that book, and then in this one we're going to a camp, so we're not interacting as much with that same found family. I didn't really mind that as much. I definitely missed the characters, but you also meet other characters in this book and they become like a new found family. That being said, I am excited for the next book. where I'm hoping that we get to see the found family from the first book, like the friend group again. Another thing that I really like from this book is that each character is kind of going through their own struggles in their personal life, even though there's a lot of parallel between the struggles that both of the main characters have, and I like how they worked through that. I liked that there wasn't really too much of a third act conflict or a third act breakup. There was, but I don't know, it wasn't out of left field. It definitely felt like everything was coming together at the end of the book, and there was just a bit of conflict because of that, but it felt like very organic, very natural. And sure, there may have been like a little bit of like miscommunication, or things could have been dealt with differently, but those things didn't last for very long, and at the end of the day they're still young adults, so it makes sense that those things would come up, and that's how they're trying to resolve their conflict, that there would be some miscommunication and things like that. But overall I thought it was really good. I would probably give it like a 4 or like a 4.25 in that realm if there wasn't as much spice, but honestly because of that I think that my final rating sits more at like a 3.5. I'll definitely let it sit and see how it feels. Like, I tend to forget about the spice in books and just remember everything else, so looking back on books I kind of rate them higher than what I initially rate them because I forget about that part and I just think about the storyline and the characters. So I probably remember this book as like a 4, but my actual rating is probably more closer to a 3.5 taking the spice into consideration. But overall really good. I like the Maple Hill series, and the next book, Henry's book, is coming out at the end of next month, so, and I'm definitely gonna pick that one up when it comes out. Definitely a really great read, really fun for like the summer vibes, the summer ambiance. I thought that the author did a really great job of bringing us into the camp setting. I felt like I was there. I definitely felt like I was part of it, and I thought that she did a really great job with that, so that made it really fun to read. Okay, before ending this clip I thought that we could just pick out the next book that we're gonna read together. In terms of summer romances, these are the 4 books that I'm deciding between. Again, it happened one summer, The Layover, and then as I mentioned earlier I just bought this book, Summer Romance, and this one is also kind of on my radar, The Hotel Nantucket, just because it's like summer vibes but more of a literary fiction than a strict romance, which I may want just to switch up like the pacing and like the classic lineup of the summer romance, which I feel like this book does as well. From what I've heard, it kind of focuses more on our main character than it does on the romance. The romance is just more of like subplot than it is the main plot. I am debating between these two simply because I want maybe a bit of a change of pace than like the classic romance structure, which I feel like these two probably follow a lot more closely. Okay, I think I'm gonna read Summer Romance next. I just read the summary on the back a little bit and it just seems really fun and lighthearted. Not that the other ones aren't, but I don't know, this one is just calling to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this one, and I'll be back when I have an update. Good morning. It is 6 o'clock on Friday morning. I had a really bad headache last night, so I went to bed like really early, and I woke up at 4 this morning, and I've been reading Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan ever since. So I've been reading it for about 2 hours. I started on page 100 and now I've gotten to page 220. So I have essentially just under 100 pages left. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna sit here, finish it this morning before I get my day started, and then hopefully, since today's like the last day of the week, which this is now reading summer books for a week, I'm hoping that today in the afternoon and evening we can maybe squeeze in another book. That would be amazing, but we'll see. But for now I'm just gonna sit here and finish this book. It is so good so far. It's exactly what you would expect. It's exactly everything that you've heard about it, if you have heard about it. Just very lighthearted, very sweet, very wholesome. Yeah, I love it so far. Like, it's so good. I'll go more in detail when I actually review the full book when I'm done. I'm really loving it so far.
'Cause I'm trying to figure out why you hate me. Was it something I did? Yeah, I don't need to offend. I'm just waiting, because of all of the lies. Yeah, you don't need to disguise your face.
Hi guys, it is Friday evening, so this was the last day of the week for reading summer romance books for a week. And so this morning, as you guys saw, I woke up at like 4 in the morning and I continued reading summer romance. I finished this book this morning and it was so good. I'm still thinking on like a final rating for it. Right now it's feeling like a 5-star book. It was really good, but I'll see how it sits and I'll come back to do a full wrap-up of all the books that I've read in this video and see where it stands then. So because I finished this book at like, I want to say 9, and then when I was done with my day I picked up It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I read maybe 60 pages of this a really long time ago. I had just started it but never continued it, and it's been on my shelf partially started for a really long time. But anyways, and I just spent all evening reading and finishing this book. It was really good. It was definitely spicier than I thought it was going to be, but I loved the setting. I loved the characters. It's been described as very like Schitt's Creek coded or Schitt's Creek inspired, and I definitely felt that, but it didn't actually feel like a copy paste of the characters it's based off of in Schitt's Creek, which was really nice. Essentially, a socialite from LA gets into some trouble, so her stepdad sends her to a small coastal town so she can go back and find her roots, and her sister comes along with her, and the second book in this series is about her sister. Anyways, and then she meets Brandon, and he is a fisherman in the town, and romance ensues. But I just loved reading like the growth that she had as a character. I thought it was really fun. I thought overall it was just a very light fluffy romance. Again, it was definitely spicier than I would ideally prefer. I thought the pacing was good. It was definitely not when I was looking at like how many pages am I into it. Like it just kind of flew by, and reading it in one sitting was so easy. At no points did I feel like anything dragged on or anything was explained when it didn't have to be. And like especially towards the end, I feel like romance books can often fall off the wagon in terms of like third act breakup and stuff like that. So I definitely feel like this book did that really well, and yeah, I just had like a really great time reading it. I feel like I would probably rate this one maybe a 4-star, maybe like a 4.25. Anyways, it's been a long day of reading to wrap up this video. Now that it was Friday, I had a really great time doing this, and I definitely want to do another weekly reading vlog very soon. But for now, I'm gonna call it a night, catch some Z's, and come back with final ratings and how they've sat with a little bit more time. Alright, it's the next day. We are now Saturday, a week after starting this video and a day after the last clip. I thought we could quickly go over all the books that I read, some final thoughts, takeaway thoughts, and just like my final ratings after having just at least slept on all of the books and all of the ratings. So I'll just go in order. And the first book that I read was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I adored this book. Like I said, it's a second chance romance that takes place in the past and the present. I read all of her other books except for Funny Story, and I have to say that this one is my favorite so far. I loved the characters so much, and I just really connected with them. I thought the story was beautiful, and I thought that the writing was really beautiful. There's so many quotes in here that I've underlined. The way she says things, it really resonates with me. It really hit hard. I think I originally rated this like maybe a 4.5, but as this was the first book that I read in the video and I've had all week to think about it, and I did think about it all week. I couldn't stop thinking about these characters. I'm honestly so excited to reread the book already, and I just finished it. So I think my final rating for this is going to be a 5 stars. The next book that I read is Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I really liked this book. I thought it was just a really fun time. Definitely a different league than books like Happy Place in my opinion, but so fun. I loved the setting with the camp counselors. I loved that it was an interconnected standalone, so there were a lot of characters that we already knew and loved, and we got to see them again. However, I will say I very much felt like I was reading 2 different books. What I mean by that is like the first half was really sweet and wholesome, and you got a lot of like the camp vibes and the camp activities and them interacting with the kids, but also interacting with each other, getting to know each other on like an emotional level and like fall in love, and I really loved that part of it. And then the second part of the book was just really spicy, and it didn't really feel like it had much emotional depth to it, or at least not nearly as much as the first half. So if I were to just rate the first half, I would probably say it would be like a 4.5 versus the first half was like a 3. So I think I'm gonna leave this at like a 3.5 at the moment, but I still really liked it. And if the setting and the plot appeals to you and the spice level as well, then I would definitely recommend it. It was a really fun read, especially in the summertime. The next book that I read was Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan, and I really love this book as well. I'm so glad that I picked it up. I actually just bought it this week, as you guys saw, and I'm glad that I read it right away. It was so much fun. Again, I loved the characters in this one. Most of the story really revolved around our main character, Allie, and I also just loved the guy in this, Ethan. He was so sweet and I loved their relationship. I also really liked the writing in this book. I tabbed a lot of quotes in it. It was just really wholesome. It really just felt like soul food. It was such a comforting book, and I think I need to give this one 5 stars as well. It was really amazing. I'm definitely going to reread this at the very latest next summer. I absolutely loved it. I loved my time reading it. I flew through it. I thought the pacing was amazing, and this was my first book by this author, and I'm definitely going to go in and read her other books like right away. It was so good. Okay, the last book that I read for this video is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I loved the setting of this book, the plot of this book. It was so fun. It was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I have to say my expectations were, I don't want to say they were low. I mean, you're not going into this expecting, you know, a literary masterpiece. Once again, like, it's just, I think it's advertised as a fluffy summer romance, and I think it delivers a very, very good fluffy summer romance. I thought the characters were really fun. I thought that the relationship was really fun, and honestly, I just flew through this. Like, I didn't feel the need to put it down at any point. I was enjoying every second that I read it, and I would definitely recommend this book as well. I think that my final rating is going to be a 4 stars. I don't think it was anything incredibly special. I don't see myself rereading this at any point. But that being said, I definitely want to read the other novel that is interconnected with this one, about the main character's sister. And yeah, I just had the best time reading this. Alright, that is all that I have. I feel like this was such a successful week. I would say that I read 2 really great, more fluffy summer romance, great setting, loved the characters, very sweet, a little spicy, but still so much fun. And then incredibly, I found 2 5-star reads. I'm honestly trying to think of 5-star reads that I've had so far this year, and I think maybe a few at the beginning of the year when books like Iron Flame came out, but I definitely haven't had a 5-star read in a really long time, so this was an amazing week to find 2 of them. I love these both so much. I highly recommend them, and I already can't wait to reread these. These have both been stuck in my mind ever since I finished them. They were both so amazing. Alrighty, so that's all that I have for this video today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that you can find some book recommendations from the ones that I read this week. This was the first time that I did a reading vlog like this, but I really loved it, and I definitely see myself making more very soon. That's all I have for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!